Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and my fellow citizens, America's comeback starts right now.
So I got a picture from a friend, and in the picture today, it was an image of President Donald Trump portraying himself to be Jesus Christ. I mean, that's the assumption I'm getting from the image, that he is considering himself to have the type of healing power to either restore our nation or to perhaps even restore individual human beings with just a touch. And it is clear, at least to my eyes, that he is depicting himself to be somewhat of a savior in this image. I mean, you look for yourself. Well, I received a picture from another Christian friend, and they asked me what were my thoughts on the situation. I'm at the gym, I'm working out. I'll come back to that kettlebell. Well, I'm going to share with you exactly what my thoughts are. And as a Christian, our thoughts are to be based on what the Word says, not our own feelings or emotions. In the book of Daniel, chapter 2, King Nebuchadnezzar has a dream. In this dream, he sees an image of a statue. And the statue has different pieces of metal that define or make up the one whole image. For example, in Daniel chapter 2, you'll see that the head of this image is a head of gold. Then the torso area of the image, the arms, the chest, the stomach, is made up of silver. Then as you go down, this image has thighs, if I'm not mistaken, of brass. And then the legs are of iron. And you get down to the toes, and finally you notice that the toes are a mixture of iron and clay. What on earth does this have to do with the picture of Donald Trump that is going viral right now? It has everything to do with it if you are a Christian. Just follow. Nebuchadnezzar was so troubled by this dream, and there were two main reasons why he was troubled. Number one, he could not remember the dream when he woke up. All he knew was that he had a dream that troubled him to such an extent that he knew it must have some type of meaning, but he couldn't remember it. So he goes and he calls upon a few wise men in his kingdom. And you've got to understand that King Nebuchadnezzar, although he was the king of Babylon, Babylon was the world power at that time. So just as today, America is the world power. And listen, it doesn't matter what the dollar amount is or the dollar value of America may be right now. We know that America is still a world power, the world power. And Nebuchadnezzar was in this same position. Well, anyway, he called his wise men. Listen, not only do I need you to tell me what the dream meant, but I need you to tell me the dream. And they're looking at homeboy like, yo, you tripping, like only the gods can reveal to you what you dreamed. Tell us the dream and we will tell you the interpretation. And listen, I don't blame him because I don't know what Nebuchadnezzar was drinking or smoking, but something had him thinking that these wise men could peer into the private areas of his mind and give him the exact dream that he dreamed and then give him an interpretation. And that is just not possible. King Nebuchadnezzar said, all right, I got one better for you. You can't tell me what I dreamed. You can't tell me the interpretation. Off with your heads. Like, I'm killing all y'all. Y'all ain't no good to me. If I'm telling y'all I need you to do something and you can't do it, then what use do I have of you? And the decree went out throughout the entire kingdom that King Nebuchadnezzar wanted all the wise men dead. Daniel, check this out. Daniel, who's Daniel? Come on, you've heard about Daniel and his three friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. You've heard about how Daniel's three friends were told to bow down to this image, and they refused. And when they refused, they were thrown into the fiery furnace. Well, before we get to that, they heard that King Nebuchadnezzar wanted everybody dead, all the wise men. And they were like, look, man, give us some time. We're going to pray to our God. Apparently, your wise men did everything in their power and they failed. They could not produce what you have asked for. Give us time to consult our God. Daniel and his three friends got together. They prayed. And God gave Daniel not only the exact dream, but he also gave Daniel the interpretation. Daniel goes and stands before King Nebuchadnezzar and he says, "O king, listen. I have a God, I serve a God who not only gave me your dream, but he gave me my interpretation. So before you praise me, before you thank me, before you elevate me, just know that I'm giving it all back to God." Do you do that, Christian man or woman? That's just a little side note. You know, sometimes we get big-headed when people congratulate us for the things we thought we were doing, but really it was God that gave us the ability to do everything that we do. Anyway, let's get back to the story. He tells Nebuchadnezzar the dream to the T, and he gives him the interpretation. Now, here is the interpretation. God had given Nebuchadnezzar an opportunity to look into the future. Every piece of metal on that statue represented a kingdom that, if it had not been in rule or in power at that time of the dream, which in truth, the only kingdom that was in power at that time was the head of gold, which represented Babylon, which was in power at that time. But the silver torso represented another kingdom that would come in and take over next. Then the legs of brass represented another kingdom that would come in next. And then the legs of, the thighs of brass represented a kingdom that would come in next. And the legs of iron represented a kingdom that would come in after that. And then, of course, you would find the toes of iron and clay, which would represent a mixture of the previous kingdom, which was the leg of iron mixed with clay. Boom. Do you hear what I'm saying? We're not done. Then you notice in Daniel chapter 2 that Daniel begins to tell King Nebuchadnezzar that in your dream, after you saw this great image, there was a rock carved out of stone, or a rock carved out of a mountain. However you want to interpret it, you go and read it in Daniel 2. And in your dream, you noticed that this rock that was carved out of the mountain was hurled at this statue, right? He notices this in the dream. Daniel is given all this information, and it is as if Daniel had dreamed the dream himself. That's how accurate it was, because he got the interpretation and the dream from God up above, who had given King Nebuchadnezzar the dream. And when King Nebuchadnezzar noticed this rock that was carved out of the mountain without hands, he noticed that it was being thrown in the direction of the statue, which again represented these different kingdoms that would rule the world at different times. And when it struck this image, the entire image was destroyed completely. In fact, the Bible talks about how this image was grinded into powder, and that its residue covered the entire earth, but there was no trace of it, meaning that these kingdoms had been destroyed. So that makes me wonder, what was this rock that was carved out of stone, or a mountain without hands? Brother, sister, the answer is why I don't care anything about politics on this planet. I don't care what President Donald Trump is doing or is going to do. I don't care what former President Barack Obama is doing or has done. I don't care anything about politics, period. Why? Because the rock that was carved out of the mountain represents the kingdom of heaven that will one day destroy, crush, and grind every kingdom of this world into powder, meaning that they will no longer exist, and that God's people will reign eternally in this new kingdom, because in the vision, that rock, once it destroyed the statue, it expanded into a major mountain that covered the entire world. That means God's kingdom, once it destroys the kingdoms of this world, once the kingdoms of this world have their probationary period and it comes to an end, God will come, Jesus will come, he will destroy these kingdoms and all sin and sinners with it, and only those who have lived their lives now as if they are truly kingdom citizens of heaven are going to enjoy that kingdom, are going to be invited into that kingdom, are going to enjoy that kingdom. Brothers and sisters, I don't care what Donald Trump is doing. I don't care what any other president or former president is doing, because I am keeping my eyes on that kingdom that's going to be carved out of rock or stone with no hands. Because Jesus is the king, the president, the prime minister of that kingdom. And that's what I'm looking forward to. And if you're a Christian, that's what you should be looking forward to. Don't get caught up in politics, voting for this person, voting for that person, and getting all up in your feelings when this person don't do what they promised, and that person didn't get a chance, and this person was overlooked. You are not living for this kingdom, pilgrim. You're living for a heavenly. This is Andre Battles of I Battle Daily Ministries. You be blessed. Pass this video on.